Welcome on in, guys. Tobin here with you, and thanks for checking out the channel. Hope you're doing well out there in the wee hours of this, what is this, Thursday? I can't even keep track. It is the morning after the draft. It's about 1 a.m. Just got back, boots on the ground from being at the Miami Heat's arena as we did a live draft broadcast today. Kasparas Jakučionis, that is your new Miami Heat guard as he is drafted out of Illinois from Lithuania, and a bit of a surprise, I gotta be honest with you. Did draft homework for this whole draft broadcast, and I was doing this all the way up until did this through the weekend. I'm looking at all the people who are 15 and below. Did not see a lot of Jakuionis in the Miami Heat scope. Saw a lot of him top 10, maybe just outside the top 10. Some websites had him as high as the 7th ranked prospect in the draft. So yeah, it was a little surprising to see Miami have another talent fall right into their lap. And this, to be honest, is not something that has been uncommon in Heat past, where they have had guys who people have thought a lot about and have kind of fallen into their laps. This one went a little bit deeper, and it was just a fascinating draft to watch just because there was so many trades. There was so much movement. And so when you finally got to the Heat's pick, all of the buzz today and over the last couple of days had been surrounding Walter Clayton Jr. So much so he's getting asked about Miami today on the draft show. There's people zooming in his draft room as if he has a Heat hat there. He ends up going to Utah after getting drafted by Washington, gets sent to the Utah Jazz, which he did not look pleased about. But it was a strange mix here in the middle of the draft because there was just a huge run on centers. And we were talking about this in the lead up to the draft where it was look, I don't know where the Heat are going to go. It kind of feels like they could go in a lot of directions. And guys, I am not a college basketball, expert aficionado. Dove into this draft and kind of felt like the Heat were going to be all over the board, but it felt like they were going to go either guard or they were going to go 3-and-D-ish type of guy. That's the talent that was going to be there. Didn't really feel like there was going to be a center that was going to tickle their fancy. And it really felt like a lot of that run on size. Some of it's surprising, like Young Hassan, who ends up getting traded to Portland, was a little bit, you're like, whoa, okay. But we get to the Heat's pick and the two picks before we get to Jakučionis getting picked was Walter Clayton Jr. and then Nolan Traore from France. He ends up going to the Brooklyn Nets. And I would say those are probably the two most prominent names that you heard going to the Miami Heat. But in the whole realm of it, it's all right. So who is Miami going to go with? Because you have Kasparas sitting here at this position where it's hey, this guy was thought of as being a top 10 talent. Miami don't even know if at the time we're has Miami even worked him out? Turns out they didn't. And Adam Simon would say later to the media, which I did not stick around for, by the way, very late night, but he would tell the media that was there after we were doing our radio show that, yeah, they didn't have a workout with him. They didn't think that he was going to be there. And, I mean, the prominent feeling, it feels like to me, and I'm not doing this Heat Homer style, I've literally seen one negative on the Miami Heat taking this pick, which it doesn't even really register. But I'm saying there's stuff from ESPN that's saying it's arguably a travesty that he fell this far. There is from CBS's expert saying that I can't believe that Miami not only gets Jakučionis, but gets him with a chip on his shoulder in an environment like Miami. They did the exact same thing with Kalel Ware last year and made him one of the best players in the draft. That was from Adam Finkelstein of CBS Sports. And he goes, if you're a Heat fan, you should be ecstatic right now. You got the Illini out there tweeting out like he's an absolute wizard with the basketball. And just continue to say this and made this point. Like, look, I know there's a lot of Heat fans who are frustrated. I have vented my own frustration, which, by the way, it was funny being in the arena tonight because a lot of the people who I love around that team, they're like, you calm down? And I'm like, I have calmed down. So everybody took it in stride. Was I referred to as the ranter by Ira Winderman tonight? Yes, I was, but all in good fun, everybody. But the idea that the Miami Heat end up with Jakučionis at this pick, I don't really understand what there is to complain about. There was, and so to break down for those who don't know, 6'5", 6'6" guard, just turned 19 years old, born in Lithuania, played a little bit of ball in Spain, fluent in Spanish, and then ends up coming over here playing college ball with the Illini, who end up having back-to-back picks. His other teammate, Will Riley, who was the sixth man of the year for the Illini, Big Ten sixth man of the year, he ends up going the next pick. Little bit of thought, hey, could the Heat end up with Pat Riley driving Riley, anything like that? And then like looking at the other guys that were around Miami's area, didn't go too far out of that realm. Like there was some Asa Newell talk about the bruising, defensive, inside presence forward from the University of Georgia. He ends up going to the Hawks. Nick Clifford, there was some stuff around him, kind of can do a little bit of everything, was teammates with Isaiah Stevens. He goes 24. Jace Richardson, who I know a lot of Heat fans were into, and maybe you feel like is going to be a little bit more dynamic of a player than Jakučionis is. He ends up going to the Orlando Magic at 25. Those were probably the most prominent names. Lee McNeely was mocked to the Miami Heat, and he ends up going to Charlotte at 29, and at the Suns place. Every one of these picks was traded. It's so crazy. It's like picks all over the place. And like, look, there's nothing against those guys whatsoever. We could be sitting here in a year's time, and Kasparas could be sitting his ass on the bench. Spo don't trust him, and Jace Richardson could turn into the next coming of Tyrese Maxey, and we look a fool. We got a Precious Achiuwa situation all over again. But I mean, you have a lot of people. I mean, like they were talking about this on the broadcast. I think Jonathan Gavoni was saying on ESPN, this guy was my 11th best prospect. So it's not like the Miami Heat reached here. It's not like they had something fall into their lap, a la Caron Butler, a la Justice Winslow. This has been a position the Miami Heat have found themselves before. And then you talk about everybody talks about his top skill sets. You talk about his ability to finish around the rim. You talk about playmaking, being able to set up his teammates, facilitator, the way that he can come up with some just tremendous passes. You talk about it. I mean, not surprising, born in Europe, comes up in that mold of being able to, get his teammates involved. And, dude, it is something the Miami Heat were lacking. Like, look, Tyler Hero is growing in a lot of ways as a decision maker and as a facilitator, but that man is a shooter and scorer first, and that is, what he comes into this thing is, and you do need to take a little relief off his hands, and you really need to figure out, like, hey, well, who else can set up from the backcourt for these guys? Could Davion Mitchell, not necessarily known as like a shot creator for everybody else, bulldog mentality, gets in there, will get guys in the right position, can be fearless driving to the basket, but I would not say he throws the prettiest lobs on the team. Probably the opposite of that. And there's a lot to love about Davion Mitchell, and there's nothing wrong with that. Not everybody's going to be a perfect player, but Jakučionis getting picked by Miami, it feels like, all right, now we have this point guard prospect that has good size to him, has maybe a little a little dragging him possibly of being able to get to the bucket and then also being able to set up his teammates. And people will say, well, he doesn't have blow by speed, he doesn't have this. I mean, Goran did not either. I mean, Goran was a guy who could use his physicality but would use his shiftiness, his craftiness, and still was just so effective at finding his way. And then the other thing you just think about is like, all right, people will look at his, and yeah, of course I'm going to, cope on it because it's like, it's the Heat's pick. So I'm going to look at the sunny side of a lot of this stuff. I thought one of the things that was crazy, the only negative I saw was I think Kevin O'Connor of The Ringer called it, he graded it a D+, which was, I think, literally his worst grade of the draft. And I think he must just really not like the player, which is a fine opinion to have. It's okay. You don't have to like every player. It seemed like his biggest gripe was the turnovers. Okay. But, shooting turnovers. Okay. From my standpoint, he just turned 19 last month. So you're basically going to have a pure 19-year-old this entire season. It's one thing to be 22 and have some of these concerns of shooting and turnovers. I don't know, but to be that age, I think you're getting a little bit crazy with saying, oh, he's too crazy with the bat. Like, that can improve with his age getting up. Like, he played a year, so he played a year of college and leaving his country to come here. And, okay, he almost, he was a little willy-nilly with the basketball. I don't know. I was just like, when I saw it, it's not that it's not a legitimate concern. It's just, to me, it's not a concern where I'm like, oh, well, I'm lost on that. Never mind. You lost me there just because, oh, yeah, I get it. You turn the ball over 4 times a game. Not great, but also, this is a very young player. The shooting was not super impressive from downtown, but Adam Simon raving about his ability to finish at the rim. Did get to the free throw line a good amount with his 1 year at Illinois. And just to me seems like a pretty stout prospect that the Miami Heat found their way into. And I think a lot of people are referring to this as the steal of the draft for Miami. And I think that is right par for the course for Adam Simon and the crew. The War Room looked like they were happy. Pat Riley was cheesing, Mickey Harrison, Nick Harrison. Everybody was in a good mood. Probably looking at Spo being like, we're going to play the young guy? Just kidding, Spo. But it ultimately, for Miami, getting this pick done, I'm excited to see Summer League like right away, because it sounds like Kalel will get a couple of games in Summer League. Kalel was there tonight. He was there. I got some stuff from Alonzo Morning today. Alonzo stopped by, did the show with Solana and Tommy Tig, and Zoe was giving us some goods on Kalel Ware. He was giving us some goods on Kalel Ware that if you guys didn't see it, I'll put some of that stuff out for you guys to check it out if you happen to miss it. But Zoe was like, I was like, oh, that sounds pretty exciting. But the man they call Kasparas Jakučionis, Ghost, he's now haunting your lives, dude. He is here in the Heat's house, ready to get his Heat career underway.